buy and hold, don't use leverage, use cold storage, do the right thing, don't get too speculative, don't FOMO, just don't fuck this up. This is the biggest opportunity we've ever been given. I've said that all the way from 2020 onwards. And in fact, I said it all the way back in 2012. It's the biggest macro trade of all time. Don't fuck this up. And if you're not a crypto person, technology is one of the biggest opportunities we've ever been given, the exponential age. Again, don't fuck this up.
We'll see. I think we'll see big price action for Bitcoin, and I think that will eventually feed into ETH and altcoins. So a spot ETF will definitely, I think, pump the market. 2024 is going to be big. Crypto is slowly but surely getting past some of these big hurdles. There is so much good news.
Crypto has gone bananas. Bitcoin's up 119, ETH's up 63, and Solana's up 500%. So pretty good. And exactly in line what I've been imagining, which is macro spring. Macro spring and crypto spring are the same thing because macro is crypto. I've explained all the way through. These are not different things. And there's a bunch of old macro people who are like, oh, I don't like that bloody crypto stuff. It's nothing to do with macro. It's driven by exactly the same cycles. It's completely in line. So spring, what is spring like? Spring is one day it's raining, next day it's sunny, then there's frost, then it's getting warmer, then you think it's going to be amazing. You get your t-shirts out and then it's freezing cold again. That's what spring is like. That's exactly what macro spring is like and crypto spring. So we saw spring and we saw choppiness, sideways ranges, a squirt up in the beginning, then slowed down, and then we're now getting into late spring. Late spring, we're starting to see what I refer to as the banana zone, which is this massively positive end of year phase. Normally speaking, again, probabilistically speaking, no guarantees around here, so don't try and hold me and go, well, it didn't go up at the end of the year, you're a bastard. I'm bored of that stuff. Probabilistically speaking, it goes up into the end of the year, and usually fast. And nobody catches it, and everybody's chasing it because they're all trying to chase performance for the end of the year and prove to their investors that they had the right trades on, which obviously they didn't because all the institutions have been massively underweight. So that, I think, is what's taking place, and that's usually the end of crypto spring and macro spring. Then we start transitioning to summer. Summer is when rates start coming down, box looking like it's starting to be ticked. When inflation falls, that's happening. And as you know, my views on inflation are it is not sticky, it's mean reverting, and it will go back down to 2% or lower. I think it actually goes negative in this cycle, and I think core inflation will go negative this cycle too. And that's what we're going to look for in 2024, and that will take people by surprise. And I think the Fed purposely orchestrated it. They want it. They want to see rates lower so they can refinance the debt. So interest rates falling, inflation falling, unemployment rising. And then when you look at the forward-looking indicators, growth will be picking up from the floor. That is the perfect macro environment. Then we're coming into election year, as all of these macro springs have been since the Great Reset of 2008. They're all the same timing. Macro summer is the same as the election year, is the same as the halving year in Bitcoin. It's all the same bloody thing. So that is about to play out. So 2024, I think, is going to be a pretty wild ride. Normally these years tend to have periods of sideways consolidation or corrections, and then these huge spurts. And we tend to see a couple of those during the year. So nothing's going to be a straight line, but it should be an extremely good year. And then 2025 will be even better. That's usually the batshit crazy year, which is the transition from macro summer into macro fall, where everything kind of goes exponential before you start transitioning to winter, rates start going up again, markets pull back again, and we go through the same cycle.
Another thing to look out for, I think, is in March when SBF is sentenced. Now, obviously, he's been found guilty. That chapter is kind of closing. But I do think that could be a big moment that, we get that sort of final closure on SBF. He's sent off to prison for however long. And I hope that that moment sort of changes people's outlook on crypto. because this has been such a huge story. When you step out of the crypto bubble, everyone else, they're only the only thing they're really aware of when it comes to crypto is FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. And I think hopefully putting that to bed, so to speak, will be a moment where people sort of focus, on more positive aspects of crypto. We should hopefully have an ETF by that point. And then, of course, the following month, April, is when the halving is scheduled to happen. And historically, this has been a narrative that mainstream media are kind of better able to understand with Bitcoin. The supply gets cut in half. So those supply and demand dynamics come into play. That is a fairly easy narrative to understand. It's a fairly easy narrative to report on. So I would hope, what with a potentially, most likely spot ETFs available for Bitcoin, Sam Bankman-Fried not troubling us for many decades to come, and the halving, I would think that should hopefully change the narrative around Bitcoin and crypto more widely. And I think that is when we can start really sort of dreaming of a proper bull market coming around. I think now is the time to buy Bitcoin. I really do. I bought some myself recently. I topped up my stack a few days ago. Obviously, I wish I'd done it sooner. Maybe when it was chopping around sort of 25k and no one was really interested or paying attention. But then suddenly this ETF narrative came along and caught a lot of people, myself included, by surprise. But yeah, look, we've got big institutional players lining up, and the reason that they're lining up is because their clients want it. BlackRock is filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF because its clients have asked them for it, and ditto all these other asset managers as well. There is huge pent-up demand for Bitcoin, and when these ETFs launch, they may not be, out of the gates, they may not be kind of what everyone's expecting. I'm not sure if we would kind of shoot to new all-time highs straight away. But yeah, over time, more and more people are going to want exposure to Bitcoin. There is a lot of money sitting there that will eventually get allocated to Bitcoin, and I think we will look back and go, do you remember when Bitcoin was below 40k? Wow. So I think now is perhaps as good a time as any.